it's an extraordinary opportunity today to introduce to you again Van Mueller. Van is a favorite of the Canada Sales Congress, and he's back with a new presentation that will help you create the appointments that you need to double or even triple your sales. This is, now, of course, his presentation, we never really know what it'll be. And neither does he until it shows up here. But it is amazing. Remember something, if you want to double or triple your appointments, and I don't care what you're doing, if you want to double or triple them, this guy can show you how to do that. Anybody here want to double their appointments? That'd be a useful thing? Amen. Well, let's just welcome, big Canadian welcome for an honorary Canadian, Mr. Van Mueller. Van.
You guys, thanks. This is awesome. Greatest time ever to be an insurance and financial professional. Greatest time ever to sell cash value life insurance. You are the most important people on the planet right now. You have to begin to realize that. The institutions and the establishments that we used to depend on and trust are not going to be able to support or take care or even keep any of the promises that they've made to us, and that's okay. Because we live in Canada or we live in the United States, and you know what's neat about those two countries? You can hook up with an insurance and financial professional who can design a strategy that will allow you to be in control no matter what these other people are doing. It's the greatest opportunity of all time. I've been an insurance agent for 51 years. I'm going to do this another 51 years because I'm so excited I can't stand it. Now, I want to just touch on something for a minute because this is going to go very, very fast for me. I used to sit out in audiences like this and I watched this wonderful parade of speakers. These are my heroes. Whether you understand it or not, you need to have mentors. You need to have heroes, somebody you can aspire to be like. And it started with the very first speaker. I mean, Brian Ash, I just adore him. I can't even tell you. Please, I don't want to spend my time going through all the names, but I just want you to understand they're important. Now, you want to know what I did wrong for the first 16 years I was in the business? I sat out where all of you are sitting, and the entire time they were speaking, I would sit there and go, there's no way I can do that. There's no way. It's not possible. And for 16 years, I was right. I was the worst agent in North America. If you go to an old dictionary, you can still find my picture in there as the worst agent in North America. I'm very shy. I know you don't believe it, but emotionally, when I walk off the stage today, they're going to have to put me in an ambulance and carry me away. This is emotional for me. I'm self-conscious about my looks, my weight, my age. When I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror and I go, oh my God, are you old? I can't believe how ugly you are. I can't believe how overweight you are. That's called negative self-talk. Every single person in this room has negative self-talk. How do you overcome negative self-talk? The answer's easy, and it took me 16 years to learn it because I was afraid. I was afraid to get good at this. Want to know the fastest way to build self-esteem? And everybody's talked about it all day. Make a decision to do something for somebody else. And the minute I do that, see now all of a sudden, because I've said that to myself, I'm not worried about how stupid I look up here. I'm more worried about how can I go about not wasting your time. You matter to me. The greatest benefit of this meeting is not us turkeys that are standing on this stage. The greatest benefit of this meeting is to be part of this audience and to share ideas with each other. You're the power. You're the stuff that matters. And so it's really, really, really important that you understand that. I want to just share with you a couple of things. First of all, I was having a discussion with some accountants and attorneys a banker, a trust officer, and I'm arguing back and forth with these guys. And they're going, we're the most important financial advisors in the planet. And I didn't have a comeback to them. And they kept arguing and arguing, and they couldn't come up with an answer either. So they sat down, they wrote a letter to God. They went, "Dear God, who's going to be the most important financial advisor in the 21st century? Will it be the accountant, the attorney, the banker, the trust officer?" They fill out an envelope. They put double stamps on it because they want to make sure it gets there. A week goes by, no answer. 2 weeks go by. They get a letter back in the mail from God. Here's what it says. "Dear accountant, attorney, banker, trust officer, I don't think any of you are going to be that important in the 21st century. Signed, God. CLU." Why did I tell you that story? Why must you understand? You know what your competitive advantage is over all of those other people. And I didn't know it for 16 years. I struggled in the abyss for 16 years because I thought I had to know all the answers, when really all I had to know was the questions. The secret sauce to being successful in our business is to knowing what are the questions that will give every one of our prospects, our clients, everybody we talk to, the clarity to understand that there are issues that they know about and there are issues that they don't know about that are even more dangerous. Want to hear something that'll blow your mind? According to AARP, in the United States and Canada, 1 out of every 5 people is an unpaid family caregiver. You don't think that's going to tear families apart? You have the ability to fix that with cash value life insurance. And I'll get to that. I mean, they only gave me 2 hours, so I got a little bit of time here. Yeah. Thank you for laughing. Another thing, I have a hero, a guy named Tom Hegna. I don't know if you guys clap if you've ever heard of him. He's famous for saying, he says, "I have something that's scientifically, mathematically, and economically accurate." And so I started using that. I use it with everybody. And I say, you know what? I get in front of a customer and I say, what I'm about to share with you is scientifically, mathematically, and economically accurate. And all of a sudden, the heavens open and God comes down, stands next to me, and he says, "You know what Van just shared with you is scientifically, mathematically, and economically correct." Want to hear something that'll blow your mind? Half the people in Canada and half the people in the United States would still disagree with us. Now you think about that for a minute. It's vitally important that you understand you only need to tell a prospect or a client one thing they don't agree with, and you've lost the sale. I don't want you to raise your hand, but how many of you, and I can see you, have ever walked away from an appointment you thought you were going to make a sale, and you couldn't figure out why you didn't get the sale? And I'll bet you any money it's because you said something to them they didn't agree with. See, I never get that problem. I'm never an adversary. I never offer to help anybody. I'm going to show you that in a minute also. You have to beg me to help you. I make them beg me. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Because I don't want to ever be an adversary again. I've worked so hard to learn the questions, to learn to ask the things that will inspire our prospects and clients to want to take action. If you think you sell life insurance, annuities, mutual funds, long-term care, critical illness, you're already out of the business. You just don't know it yet. Please understand, artificial intelligence will never replace you because artificial intelligence doesn't stand in the cemetery with their arm around you when somebody you care about dies. You are a big deal. And if anybody ever tells you different, I'm going to give you my cell phone number right now. You call me and I'll whisper sweet nothings in your ear. 414, write it down. 881-6246. I want to help. Somebody took care of me when I didn't deserve to be taken care of. 414-881-6246. And if you go to my website, vanmueller.com, even though it looks like Mueller, It's Mueller, like Miller beer. So vanmiller.com. Some of the questions I'm going to share with you are going to be there. Please, anything I can do to help. We desperately need you to be at your absolute best going forward, or the Canadian people are going to be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I have a sales presentation. Listen to this. I go to people all the time and I say, don't you get tired every time you meet somebody like me? They tell you they know something and it turns out they don't know anything, right? And then I say, would it be okay if I proved it to you? Now, do you understand? It's opposite of anything they've ever heard before. Would it be okay if I proved it to you? And they go, okay, how are you going to do that? And I say, well, let me ask you something. Justin Trudeau, he has access to more information, more tools, more advisors than just about anybody except for maybe the President of the United States on planet Earth. I have a question for you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Has he been able to fix the economy so far of Canada? In fact, it's getting in more and more trouble every day. And Tim Macklin, my wife wants to marry him. That's not his first name. It's T.S. Macklin. I can't read my own writing. Anyway, please listen to me. My wife wants to marry him because he can print money. And there's a lot of people that would argue that he's as powerful as Justin Trudeau because he is in control of the banks and can print money. With all of his ability, has he been able to fix the Canadian economy? No. So then I ask him, I say, wouldn't I be lying to you if I told you I knew it was going to happen? They agree with me. Watch. I'm one question away from a sale. I'm not kidding. So doesn't that just leave one more question? If nobody knows what's going to happen, what if we could design a strategy for you where nobody could ever hurt you ever again, and we could keep you safe from any dumb thing, any blunder that government ever does again or Wall Street ever does again? And then watch. I've already lost their attention in seconds, and watch how I get them back. And here's something we just haven't done well enough with you in the past, and gosh, I hope you'll allow us to do this for you now. What if we could take advantage of every blunder they make for the rest of your life going forward? If you knew you could do that right now, when would you want to get started? What do you think they say? Answer me. You bet your life. And I didn't show them an illustration, and I didn't tell them an interest rate, and I didn't do any of that. I have no sales appointments that are longer than 15 minutes. None. Canadians have an attention span of approximately 8 seconds. The study that was done says goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds. And they're not going to be okay with you dumping all kinds of information all over them because they'll fall asleep while you're doing it, and they don't even understand 90% of what you're talking about because the person delivering the information doesn't understand 90% of what they're talking about. It's not a cut. I adore agents. I love agents. I think they're the key to our future, and we should be doing everything in our industry we can to support them. So why am I here today? I'm here because I want to talk to you about prospecting. I run 30 to 50 appointments a week. I pay no money for those appointments. I'm approximately 100 appointments behind right now, and I write 800 to 1,200 apps a year, and I only work 8 months a year. I'm really having a blast. It's fun. And I'm not doing anything magical. I do not have one original thought in my body. I learned from other agents in our business who all I've done is taken their great ideas and I have turned them into my best, write this down, my best authentic self. Because I don't want you to sell like Van Mueller. That's a lie. I want you to sell like the best you are. That's what they buy. That's what they wrap their arms around. That's what they depend on. You make a purchasing decision as a customer because you trust and like somebody. So the first thing you got to ask is, how do you make somebody like you? The answer's easy. Like them first. How do you make somebody trust you? The answer is easy. Trust them first. How do you make somebody be vulnerable with you? That's okay. Be vulnerable with them first. You're the professional. Write this down. Never forget it. Professionals never get offended. Ever. It's their money. Our job is to serve. We are servants at the best definition of the word. It took me 20 freaking years to get it, and I had to get fired. I was so stupid. I'm hoping everybody in this room is way smarter than I was. What I'm hoping that you're going to hear here, this is the only thing I'm going to brag to you about. There are people in here that are nicer than me, smarter than me, better looking than me, obviously younger than me, except for Turner. He's only a couple months older. No, I'm kidding. But here's what I'm going to brag to you about. I'm the most well-rehearsed agent in North America. I practice and practice and practice. You ever have anybody tells you again to study? Punch them in the face, tell them Van sent you. Think about this. If you read, let's say you play chess. If you read the 50 greatest books ever written about chess, and then you went to try and play chess, would you be any good at it? No. How do you get good at something? You practice it so that you become instinctive. Insurance sales and financial sales are a profession. Let me give you an example. Ever have anybody, raise your hands if you ever heard anybody say this. Van, we really like you and we really like your product, but we don't think we can afford it. Anybody ever say that to you? Here's what you say back as fast as you can. You say, boy, that makes total sense to me. I totally understand why you would say something like that. But gosh, doesn't that raise another question? Well, what is that? If you can't afford the premium now while you're here and able to assist the family in the business, how is your family or business going to afford the problem if you're not here? See, you think they think in an organized way, and they don't. But you don't want to offend them, so you just ask them another question. You inspire them to go through a process of discovery. That's what we do for a living. By the way, the other thing that really ticks me off here, getting pretty weird in my old age. This is not a job. This is not a career. The reason most of us fail at prospecting is because we don't understand this as a lifestyle. Lots of agents go to work at 8 in the morning and they get done at 6, and that ends their prospecting. You don't want to sit next to me on an airplane, you're toast. You don't want to be a flight attendant on my airplane. I have 25 Delta flight attendants as customers. You don't want to sit next to me at a baseball, football, or basketball game. You don't want to talk over the fence to me in our backyard with my neighbors. You're toast. I gotcha. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to drip on you and ask you questions and ask you questions and ask you questions. Why are you doing it this way? Want to know one of the hottest questions right now for the people of Canada? I'm going to tell you the old version and I'm going to tell you the new version where I'm just knocking it out of the park. Is there somebody at Revenue Canada that you've just decided you're so madly in love with them, you want to leave them a whole bunch of your RSP? Okay? That's not good enough. Watch what I do now. Compliance is a really big issue in our industry now. So I call up all of my customers now, and I'm working my way 61 in a row, 61 sales in a row. I get on the phone and say, hi, this is Van. I'm calling because I just got called on the carpet because I didn't have complete enough records in my compliance because they're so worried that we don't have enough accurate information to make recommendations to you. Would it be okay if I came over and spent 45 minutes with you? I think you'll find it really interesting. Would it be okay? And I go over. I sit down with them and I say to him, I say, man, do you understand what compliance is? It's somebody that really watches over our shoulder to make sure we're okay. And I didn't ask you this question before. And gosh, if I don't get this in my records, they're going to really come down pretty hard on me. There's a couple of smaller questions, but this is the big question. Will you please tell me the exact date that you and your spouse decided that you were going to make the primary beneficiary of your RSP the Revenue Canada and the government of Canada. And they go, what? And you go, you didn't understand that they have a first mortgage on this money? Gosh. So the other two smaller questions, are you going to leave it like that? And the last one is, what if there was something that you could do about it so that you could be in control of what they took rather than letting them be in control? If you knew that, when would you want to get started? Right now. It's so easy. I just laugh and giggle all day. I sell people in grocery stores. You don't want to stand in line with me at a movie theater. It's just terrible. Prospecting. This is why a lot of you hate it. 10 calls to get 3 appointments to make 1 sale. You know what's so bad about all of that? You take the time to get those 10 calls in, and you actually talk to somebody who says, no, I'm not interested in an appointment. And then you finally get 3 appointments, and you go run those 3 appointments, and you make 1 sale, and then you do something that just blows my mind. You toss away the other 9. I never do that. Never. Because, listen, this one you want to take home with you. Prospecting is about timing. Sometimes when you're asking for an appointment, it's not convenient or it's not an appropriate time for them. And you could call them 1 month later and they'd go, oh my God, am I glad you called? It's about timing. Never give up any of these people that you have relationships with. And please, I don't even burn ones that, do you understand? You people think I sell everybody. I don't. There's people I walk in the door and they go, we don't like you. And you know you have some people like that too. I don't sell everybody. But if I find somebody after I ask them a couple of questions, I know whether they're going to do business with me or not. So I don't burn that bridge either. I say, B, hey, please, it was so great meeting you, but before I go, will you promise me you'll remember a couple of questions, and then I'll get out of your hair? And they go, phew, dodged a bullet. No, you didn't. Now I'm going to hit you with a cannon. I say to them, will you remember this question? Promise me. When things get really bad and you don't get the help you thought you were going to get, or you're not big enough of a customer for your current advisor to pay attention to you, or you even were playing with me a little bit and you don't even have another advisor, and that's okay. I get it. Will you promise that you'll remember that I can stop the bleeding immediately? Will you promise you remember that? And then the final question is, promise me you'll remember that once I stop the bleeding, we'll actually be able to put you in position to take advantage of what's happening. Will you promise me you'll remember that? Oh, it was so great to meet you. I don't burn any bridges. I'm not an adversary with anybody. Professionals never get offended. I'm building a career. I'm not trying to make a sale. Next thing I do that's very interesting is I set up the next sale when I get done with the first sale. So I don't just deliver the policy and walk away. I'm setting up the next sale. I'm already saying to them, now that we handled this, boy, with everything that's happening, it's coming faster than we thought. Maybe we should take a look at this. They've already decided they like me. And by the way, you can get this from Jimmy Ruta, he'll send it to you so you don't have to write all of this down. On every policy, I deliver this. And I read it to them out loud, and I read it at every review. And by the way, I don't do annual reviews, I do reviews. Sometimes I might want to come and see you in 3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 9 months, sometimes a year, sometimes 15 months, doesn't matter. But when I get there, the first thing I do is remember that slip I gave you, and I tape it to the front of their policy. These are times that it'll be beneficial for you to be in touch with me. It'll also be to your benefit if you contact me as soon as possible after any of these events happen. You should call me if you go into debt of any kind. Debt signals the need for life insurance. You should change jobs. You retire or consider retiring. You receive an inheritance. Interest rates go up or down in a substantial way. Stock market goes up or down in a substantial way. If you pay taxes on your retirement, if you get married, if you get divorced, if you have a child, if you become a grandparent, if you buy a home, if you sell a home, if you start a business, if you win the lottery, if you have a catastrophic illness like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, who's the first person you should call? Uncle Van. And boy, they do. The interest rates have been bouncing all over. I can't answer. I have one lady so mad at me. She said, man, I called you 3 weeks ago and I haven't returned her call because I have so many to call. And finally I called her back and she said, what took you so long to call me back? And I said, well, first of all, you know how busy I am. And second, if you really wanted to see me that fast, you should have called me sooner. I'm the professional. I'm there to serve, and that's all there is. Now, I also have scripts. I'm going to give you the easiest one. And this is common sense. You don't need the written script from me. With everything that's happening, COVID's coming back. We have all kinds of uncertainty happening all over our planet right now. The housing market in Canada is really facing difficulty. How are they going to take care of all these buildings in the major downtown markets where people are not returning to work? There's all kinds of questions. So I call up my customers, existing customers with this script. Hi, this is Van from Manual Life. Okay, good. I picked the right company. The reason I'm calling is, are you okay? Just worried about you with everything that's going on. Second, do you have any questions about any of this? Is there anything I could answer that would ease your stress, make you feel better about it? And this is the most important reason I called. I can't tell you how much we appreciate your loyalty and how wonderful you've been to us. And the only way we know that we can show our loyalty to you is if you could find half an hour, 45 minutes in the next week or two, so I could ask you a series of questions that will help you identify if, because of all this stuff that's happening, if there's anything you should be worried about first, and second of all, what if there was an opportunity to take advantage of stuff? See, because here's the thing. Listen really carefully. There is no bad news. There is no good news in our world, whether you like it or not. There's only news. If you plan and prepare, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. If you don't plan and prepare, you get slaughtered. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, if you understand that, which one do you choose? You understand? I'm just asking for their opinions. What do people like to give more than anything? Their opinions. It's vitally important. So, what I wanted to say for the end was I wanted you to know my sales presentation. I keep telling you guys that I only take 15 minutes, and I actually have less than that time, so I want to do this very quickly. I have 5 questions. The first question should always be the first question in Canada and the United States. You guys answer as a group. Do you think taxes will be higher in Canada in the future, yes or no? You think it's possible with everything that's going on in our country that it could be way higher? Now, here's what you guys do. Ready? Oh, I got a policy. I got something that'll help fix that. You just identified yourself as a salesperson. Watch what I do. This is how I get them to beg. I make them beg. Do you think taxes will be higher in the future, yes or no? Think it's possible they could be way higher? Now, you have other insurance agents, you have other advisors, you have bankers, tax accountants, lawyers. Bet you nobody's ever asked you the question I'm about to ask you. Are you ready? That's exactly how I do it, every single time. Do you want to pay those taxes? So what are you going to do to not pay those taxes? He said, I'm going to buy insurance from you. He was easy. But they say stuff like, I don't know. And you say, so you mean you're just going to let them come and take away all your life's hard work? Well, no. So what are you going to do exactly? Can you spell it out for me? And finally, they'll say something, well, okay, what would you recommend? Or what do you think? And the minute they've done that, if you really pay attention, you're no longer a salesperson. You're their advocate. You're their advisor. You're their counselor because they gave you permission. It's very, very easy. Second question, because I'm running out of time here. Do you think benefits will be lower in the future? Higher deductibles, higher premiums, more out of pockets, longer? You have excellent health care in Canada, but you got to wait like 30 years to get it. So are you going to have to wait longer? Third, if we have higher taxes and lower benefits, is that going to be enough to fix Canada and the United States? No. So the government's going to have to print more what? And that's called what? You bet. Can I give you an example? We call that a stealth tax. If you retire at 65 years old in Canada on $50,000 a year and we have just 7% inflation, there's an accounting rule called the Rule of 72 that says if I divide the inflation rate into 72, it's going to take approximately 10 years for me to need twice as much money to maintain my standard of living. So if I retire at $50,000 a year at age 65, I'll need $100,000 at age 75, and I'll need $200,000 at age 85. Or said the other way, my $50,000 will only buy $25,000 worth of goods and services at 75, or $12,500 at age 85. And by the way, do Canadians live to age 85? Do you know why? Because they want to. It's an amazing, I've never spent a bad second in this country. I love it here. And you guys are wrecking it because you're living too long. Fourth, if we have higher taxes, lower benefits, government's going to print more money, and that's called inflation. Isn't it going to cause more and more volatility? And if you make a mistake, could you lose some money? If you make 5 mistakes, could you lose a lot of money? Mr. and Mrs. Customer, what's your strategy to not be hurt by the bad volatility? And oh my goodness, what if you could take advantage of the good volatility? People do not buy bad news. People buy access to opportunity. Give them a choice. Final, this is a brand new study. It's only a couple of months out. People in North America are more concerned with outliving their money than they are about dying. Tom Hegna calls it longevity. It's a big deal. I simplified it. If you're hearing I simplify all of this down to a couple of questions. Let me ask you something. Will you help me? If you retire at 65 and you die at 70, are we going to have any trouble planning your retirement? No. But if you retire at 65 and you live till you're 95 and you run out of money when you're 72 years old, what does the rest of your retirement look like? And so you ask them, do you want to be an elderly gentleman or do you want to be an old man? Do you want to be a dignified woman or do you want to be a bag lady? And what's the difference between the two? Income and money. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, if you had a choice, you want to be rich or do you want an absolute positive guarantee that you'll never be poor? They say 95% of the time, I never want to be poor. What if we could show you a way that even if you completely ran out of money, you'd never run out of income? Gosh, in these uncertain times, watch, even if you didn't do anything, wouldn't you want to know how to do that? Do you see how non-adversarial it is? Everybody gives me an appointment. They want to talk about it. Here's a question I have asked 30,000 times, I swear to you, on my children. Never had anybody say no. It's powerful, ridiculous powerful. I don't call anybody old or senior, and I'm 72 years old. You call me an old guy, I will kill you. But you want to know how self-conscious I am? I was blind for 2 years because I didn't want to get glasses because I thought I was already ugly enough. Do you get it, you guys? I struggle. And so what ended up happening is I got a couple of grandkids. And now I wear grandfather hats and grandfather t-shirts and glasses that say grandpa on them and all of that. Grandma and grandpa are power words. Learn to use power words. Grandma and grandpa, if we could show you a way to stay in complete control, write that down, control. Use it in every conversation from now on. Canadians feel like they're losing control of their lives. What if we could give you control back? When would you want to get started? Grandma and grandpa, if we could show you a way to stay in complete control of your money till you took your last breath, but instead of giving that money to a government, a nursing home, or a hospital, you could keep that money in your family for generations to come at the very least. Come on, even if you didn't do anything, wouldn't you want to know how to do that? They all give me an appointment. So I want to stay on time here. Guys, I love you guys. I wish you'd let me have a couple hours next time. I got so much stuff I want to share with you, but I want to close with this. One of my favorite groups of all time is a group called the Beatles. And I've seen the show Love in Las Vegas 20 times, and you don't want to sit there. I've actually sold people at the show. But I cry like a baby, and everybody asks me, why are you crying? And I say, well, the music touches me. It really matters to me. I bought a wonderful photograph here in Toronto at a sale which showed Mick Jagger, John Lennon, and Yoko Ono sitting at a piano creating a song. It was amazing. I love the group so much. And the guy that created the show Love in Las Vegas, his name is George Martin. And this is what George Martin, the fifth Beatle, says about all of you. Like love, do we care if somebody's face is a bit wrinkled or their nose a bit crooked? No. The power to move people to laughter, to tears, to violence. The ability to inspire people to take action is the most powerful attribute any human being can have, and that's what you guys do for a living. You absolutely change the world one appointment at a time. I love being here. I love you, Canada. Thank you for coming today. Thank you.
I have Van's notes here, and I'm going to auction them off later on. There's three of them. I'm thinking $100 a head. What? No, they're not your note. Okay, they might be. Never mind.
I just wrote those.
Thank you very much. Yeah. He prepared very carefully into this starting about 6 months ago, and then really in earnest about half an hour ago. So it's the way it goes with Van. Listen, there's so many great things all the time from Van Mueller. One of the things that I like particularly, this whole idea about how to overcome negative self-talk. He said it very early in his talk today, and I think it's such an important thing because, as he said, we all have negative self-talk, but you make the decision to do something for someone else. And then, of course, you're asked the questions that provide the clarity, and there's just so much information here, but it's true, and you can see that he is the most well-rehearsed agent in North America. Well, look, we've come, Van, one more time, you're back there. Thank you very much for taking your time to be here. He's an extraordinary guy, and we're delighted to have him back.